Wealth can wane. Kinfolk of influence shall die. Someday you too might die. But I know one thing that'll never die. And that's the honor of somebody who's earned his draft at Sumble. Come closer and let an old skjald tell the story of one such person. This is Heroes of Our Folk.
Today I'll read a story adapted from the Heimskringla, the saga of Olaf Haraldsson. Part 115, The Murder of Olvr of Eggja. At Easter, in the year 1021, the king held a feast, to which he had invited many of the townspeople as well as bonds. After Easter, he ordered his ships to be launched into the water, oars and tackle to be put on board, decks to be laid in the ships, and tilts and rigging to be set up, and to be laid ready for sea at the piers. Immediately after Easter, he sent men to Veradal. There was a man called Thorald, who was the king's bailiff, and who managed the king's farm there at Haug. And to him the king sent a message to come as quickly as possible. Thorald did not decline the journey, but went immediately to the town with the messenger. The king called him in, and in a private conversation asked him what truth there was in what had been told him of the principles and living of the people of the interior of Throndheim, and if it was really so that they would practice sacrifices to heathen gods. "I will," said Thorald. "The king says, that thou declare to me the things as they are, and as thou knowest to be true, for it is thy duty to tell me the truth, as thou art my man." Thorald replies, "Sire, I will first tell you that I have brought here to the town my 2 children, my wife, and all my loose property that I could take with me. And if thou desirest to know the truth, it shall be told according to thy command. But if I declare it, thou must take care of me and mine." The king replies, "Say only what is true on what I ask thee, and I will take care that no evil befall thee." Then said Thorald, "If I must say the truth, king, as it is, I must declare that in the interior of Throndheim land, almost all the people are heathen in faith, although some of them are baptized. It is their custom to offer sacrifice in autumn for a good winter, a second at midwinter, and a third in the summer. In this the people of Eggja, Sparby, Veradal, and Skåne partake. There are 12 men who preside over these sacrifice feasts, and in the spring it is Olvr who has to get the feast in order, and he is now busy transporting to Maerin everything needful for it. Now when the king had got the truth with a certainty, he ordered the signal to be sounded for his men to assemble, and for the men-at-arms to go on board the ship. He appointed men to steer the ships, and leaders for the people, and ordered how the people should be divided among the vessels. All was got ready in haste. With 5 ships and 300 men he steered up the fjord. The wind was favorable, and the ships sailed briskly before it, and nobody could have thought that the king would be there so soon. The king came in the night time to Maerin, and immediately surrounded the house with a ring of armed men. Olvr was taken, and the king ordered him to be put to death, and many other men besides. Then the king took all of the provisions for the feast, and had it brought to his ships, and also all the goods, both furniture, clothes, and valuables, which the people had brought there, and divided the booty among his men. The king also let all the bonds he thought had the greatest part in the business be plundered by his men-at-arms. Some were taken prisoners and laid in irons, Some ran away, and many were robbed of their goods. Thereafter the bonds were summoned to a thing, but because he had taken many powerful men prisoners and held them in his power, their friends and relations resolved to promise obedience to the king, so that there was no insurrection against the king on this occasion. He thus brought the whole people back to the right faith, gave them teachers, and built and consecrated churches. The king let Olvr lie without fine, paid for his bloodshed, and all that he possessed was abjugated to the king. And of the men he judged the most guilty, some he ordered to be executed, some he maimed, some he drove out of the country, and took fines from others. The king then returned to Nidaros. We're fortunate enough to make our own decisions on who to worship, and in most cases, how we choose to worship. This is not the case in some parts of the world, and these choices have not always been available to all people. Enjoy your freedom, and celebrate your ancestors in ways that they would find pleasing. March 9th is the date that we choose to celebrate the deeds of Olvr of Eggja. Hail to Olvr of Eggja. Hail to those who carry on traditions when others will not. Hail to the folk. Hail to you, my friend, and thank you for listening and preserving the immortality of Olvr of Eggja. This is Heroes of Our Folk.